the Chinese government to neighboring India to withdraw its troops from the disputed Doklam border area to avoid further escalation of the situation. The comments, made by Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lu Kang during a regular press briefing Tuesday, come amid what has evolved into an increasingly bitter and entrenched border dispute between the two nations. The standoff, now entering into its fifth week, centers on a thin strip of land in the junction with Bhutan. Though not a part of Indian territory, the area is close to the Chicken's Neck, a strategic corridor that serves as a vital artery between Delhi and its far northeastern states. The dispute appears to have escalated in recent days, say analysts, with both Beijing and Delhi looking to consolidate their positions. On Monday, China conducted live fire drills in the Qinghai-Tibet Plateau close to the site of the current standoff. The aim of the drills, according to reports in Chinese state media, was to improve troops' combat capability in such locations. An increasingly bellicose domestic media environment has further added to the sense of intractability surrounding the dispute, with press reports from both sides calling on leaders to protect the sovereignty and honor of their respective nations. A widely circulated op-ed, published by the Chinese tabloid The Global Times on Tuesday, urged India to back down or face the consequence of an all-out confrontation. The commentary repeated unconfirmed reports in the Indian press that Indian troops are now stationed at the border area and have set up logistical support. In response, China must continue strengthening border construction and speed up troop deployment and construction in the Doklam area, said the op-ed. The Doklam dispute is the latest in a long-running series of territorial flare-ups between India and China. In 1962, the two countries engaged in a bloody border war, and skirmishes have continued to break out sporadically in the decades since. I'm not sure how this situation de-escalates, not just because of the media hype on both sides, but also because China may not have an interest in de-escalating, said Yvonne Chu, assistant professor at the Department of Politics at the University of Hong Kong. Unlike flashpoints in the South and East China Seas, a small conflict with India can be better contained because it is less likely to draw the involvement of other major powers in the region, such as the US, added Chu. The conflict, if contained, could potentially serve several useful purposes for China, said Chu, including better establishing one of its regional territorial claims, giving its domestic audience something to cheer for, and giving its military some practice. The dispute began on June 16, when China accused Indian border guards in the northeastern state of Sikkim of crossing into its territory in southwestern Tibet, in an attempt to obstruct the construction of a new mountain road. India has not denied its troops were present in the area. According to a statement released by the Indian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Indian personnel approached the Chinese construction party and urged them to desist from changing the status quo. This was followed by a formal compliant, or démarche, issued by the Bhutanese government that accused China of constructing a road inside Bhutanese territory in direct violation of its territorial treaty obligations. India and Bhutan have maintained historically strong relations. Bhutan cooperates closely with India in determining its foreign policy, and the Indian Army is involved in the training of its armed forces. China, which does not have formal diplomatic ties with Bhutan, has repeatedly denied that it has violated any treaties and has called India's involvement in the issue utterly unjustifiable.
Let me express my satisfaction with the arrangement and request all of you to take advantage of the huge display of various weapons, the technology display.
Today, India is the largest importer of arms in the world and has pledged to spend $250 billion over the next decade to modernize its military. Hoping to cash in, arms dealers and companies from across the globe have flocked to the Defence Expo in the hopes of selling their tech to the Indian government.
Hello, My name is Mandakini Gehlot.
Andre.
Hello, Andre. Mandakini. Hi.
At the forefront of India's military expansion is the development of a fleet of nuclear submarines which will be powered by enriched uranium and capable of firing thermonuclear weapons, each one over 1,000 times more powerful than the devices detonated over Hiroshima and Nagasaki during World War II. But in order to power and arm this fleet, India will need a large stockpile of sufficiently enriched uranium. According to a recent investigation by Foreign Policy magazine, a new top-secret facility is under construction in the South Indian district of Chalakere. And it is here that many believe the highly enriched uranium needed to fulfill India's military ambitions will be produced. Though, this is a claim that has been hotly contested by the Indian government itself. So, I've come to the expo to seek out India's top defense and military leaders and see if they will explain what is going on. Our first port of call is the Defense Minister's press conference, where I ask him about these alleged plans to build a new uranium enrichment site.
A military complex in Chalakere and South India. Would you care to elaborate on what purpose this complex will serve?
You are asking me something which I cannot tell you. You are also aware of it. But I can tell you this much, that the country is very much sensitive about its needs. And all needs are being monitored, and we are attempting to get things even before time, scheduled time.
His answer is evasive, but that's not really surprising. Indian officials are famously tight-lipped about the country's nuclear weapons program because it is covered by a draconian Official Secrets Act. We hear the same evasive responses from a long list of people at the Defense Expo.
Something you're concerned about?
I don't want to talk of that. This is not our area.
We ran into the same apparent wall of silence when we approached the company that built India's first nuclear submarine.
It's good really not to talk about something which the country must manage its own secrecy.
Even the country's Vice Chief of Naval Staff was unwilling to address the subject.
It is a great achievement.
And does it enhance our capacity significantly?
Enough. One question is enough.
While India is keen to discuss and debate its growing military prowess, the nuclear weapons program is a subject that remains off limits. But many analysts across the world believe that India is indeed pursuing a policy of creating thermonuclear weapons many times more powerful than anything in the country's arsenal to date.
If you're saying that we are enlarging our arsenal, yes we are.
And India's historical foe Pakistan has already taken note, pledging to do whatever it takes to keep up with Indian nuclear capability.
Whether they want to turn Pakistan into rubble or evaporate that rubble into vapors, that should not